My son screamed, "You're going to a nursing home. Get out of my house," on a Tuesday afternoon. By Wednesday morning, he was on his knees in front of me, begging. What he didn't know was that I'd already emptied every account with his name on it, transferred the deed to my house into a trust he couldn't touch, and hired the best attorney in 3 counties. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Let me back up 3 months to show you how my only child, the boy I raised alone after his father died, turned into a stranger I barely recognized. It started in August with little things. Derek and his wife Vanessa stopped by on a Saturday morning without calling first. I was in my garden, doing what I'd done every weekend for 40 years, tending my roses. Paul planted the first bush for me when we bought this house in 1985. Yellow roses, my favorite. "Mom, we need to talk," Derek said, not even bothering with hello. Vanessa stood behind him wearing that smile she always had, the one that never reached her eyes. I wiped dirt from my hands. "Of course, sweetheart. Let me make some coffee." "This is serious," Vanessa cut in. "We've been worried about you, Margaret." Worried. That word would become their weapon of choice over the next few months. Inside, I made coffee while they sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Derek had done his homework, where Paul and I had shared 33 years of breakfasts, where I'd signed the papers selling our accounting firm for $2.1 million after Paul died. That money sat safely in various accounts and investments, earning interest, keeping me comfortable. I didn't need much. The house was paid off. My needs were simple. "Your memory seems to be slipping," Vanessa started, pulling out a small notebook. "Last Tuesday, you forgot Emily's dance recital." "I didn't forget," I said calmly. "I had my yearly mammogram scheduled at the same time. I told Derek that 2 weeks before." Derek shifted uncomfortably. Vanessa's smile tightened. "And you called Derek by his father's name 3 times last month." "Paul and Derek share the same laugh," I replied. "Sometimes when I hear it, I slip. I'm 67, not senile." But they had more. A list, actually. Times I supposedly forgot things, confused details, acted strangely. Most of it was twisted truth or outright lies. I let them talk, watching my son avoid my eyes while his wife built a case against my competence. "We think it might be time to consider your options," Vanessa concluded, "before things get worse. There's a lovely assisted living facility we toured." "I'm not going anywhere," I said quietly. "This is my home." That's when I saw it. A flash of something ugly crossed Vanessa's face. Derek caught it too because he quickly stood up. "Mom, we're just worried, that's all. Let's table this discussion." They left, but I knew it wasn't over. I stood at my kitchen window watching them drive away in the BMW Derek could barely afford, and something clicked in my mind. This wasn't about concern. This was about money. My money. That evening, I called Tom Bradford, my next-door neighbor. Tom and Paul had been best friends since college. After Paul died, Tom had been there for everything, helping with paperwork, checking on me, making sure I wasn't alone on holidays. He was 78 and sharp as ever, a retired attorney who still consulted occasionally. "Tom, I need your honest opinion," I said over decaf at his kitchen table. "Am I losing my mind?" He laughed. "Maggie, you're the sanest person I know." "Why?" I told him about Derek and Vanessa's visit. Tom's expression darkened. "Those vultures. Paul would be ashamed." "Paul loved Derek unconditionally," I said softly. "Paul also taught Derek honor and respect," Tom countered. "Vanessa's corrupted that boy. I've watched it happen over 6 years. She's always got her eye on something bigger, something better. And you, my dear, are sitting on a considerable estate." The next few weeks I paid attention. Really paid attention. Derek called less. When he did call, Vanessa was always in the background, whispering suggestions. They invited me to dinner twice, and both times, Vanessa steered conversation toward my forgetfulness in front of the kids. My grandchildren, Emily and Connor, looked confused. They'd never seen me forget anything. "Grandma's not sick," Emily said once, her 15-year-old voice cutting through her mother's manipulation. She helped me with my calculus homework last week. She remembered formulas from 50 years ago. Vanessa's jaw tightened. Adults are talking, Emily. I started documenting everything. Times, dates, conversations. I wrote down every interaction, every phone call, every concern they raised. Tom suggested I see my doctor and get a complete cognitive evaluation. I did. Dr. Morrison, who'd been my physician for 20 years, ran every test imaginable. "Margaret, you're in excellent mental health," she told me, handing over detailed results. "Your memory is above average for your age. Your cognitive function is perfect. Whatever your family is concerned about, it's not medical." I asked her to put everything in writing, notarized. She did. That's when I knew for certain. This wasn't about my health. This was a plan, and I needed to figure out exactly what they were planning before it was too late. October arrived with cool mornings and Vanessa's patience wearing thin. I could feel the shift. The gentle suggestions about getting my affairs in order became more insistent. The visits increased, always with some excuse about being in the neighborhood. On a Thursday afternoon, they showed up with papers. Derek looked sick. Vanessa looked determined. "Mom, we need you to sign these," Vanessa said, spreading documents across my dining room table. "It's just standard stuff. Power of attorney, healthcare proxy, making Derek executor of your estate, basic planning that everyone your age should have in place." I picked up the power of attorney document. It was comprehensive, giving Derek complete control over all my financial accounts, property, investments. Everything. "I'd like my attorney to review these first," I said calmly. "You don't have an attorney," Vanessa snapped, then caught herself. "I mean, there's no need for that expense. Derek's a licensed CPA. He can handle everything." Actually, Derek was an architect. He'd never been a CPA, but I didn't correct her. Instead, I smiled. "I'll think about it." That's when Vanessa's mask slipped completely. "You'll think about it? Margaret, we're trying to help you. We've been patient, but this is getting ridiculous. You're clearly not capable of handling your own affairs anymore." Derek finally spoke. "Van, please. Mom, we're just worried." "Worried about what?" I interrupted, my voice harder now. "About my $2 million? About this house that's worth $500,000? About the investments your father and I spent 40 years building?" The room went silent. Vanessa's face flushed red. Derek looked at the floor. "Get out," I said quietly. "Both of you." "Mom," Derek started. "Now." They left. I watched them argue in my driveway through the window. Vanessa was furious, gesturing wildly. Derek looked defeated. When they drove off, I called Tom. "They just tried to get me to sign over power of attorney," I told him. "Christ, Maggie, we need to move faster. I'm calling Lisa Parker tomorrow. She's the best estate attorney in the state. We're putting everything in an ironclad trust." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the little boy who used to crawl into bed with me during thunderstorms. The teenager who cried in my arms when his first girlfriend broke his heart. The young man who'd been the best man at his own father's funeral, speaking about honor and love and family. Where did that Derek go? When did Vanessa replace my son with this stranger? I got up and went to Paul's study. I'd kept everything exactly as he left it. His desk, his books, his pictures. I pulled out the photo album from Derek's childhood. Birthday parties, baseball games, Christmas mornings. Every picture showed a happy kid with parents who adored him. Then I found the wedding album. Derek and Vanessa's wedding 6 years ago. I'd had reservations even then. Vanessa's family hadn't come. She claimed they were estranged. She had no friends as bridesmaids, only women from her gym. No one from her past, no childhood friends, no old coworkers. Just surfaces. Pretty surfaces with nothing underneath. Paul had noticed, too. "There's something off about that girl," he'd told me privately. "She doesn't look at Derek like she loves him. She looks at him like he's a means to an end." But Derek was so happy, or seemed to be. We kept our concerns to ourselves. Maybe that was our mistake. The next morning, Lisa Parker arrived at my house at 9 sharp. She was 45, built like a bulldog, and had a reputation for destroying opponents in court. Tom had briefed her on everything. "Mrs. Thompson, here's what we're going to do," Lisa said, pulling out her laptop. "First, we create an irrevocable trust. Everything goes into it. House, investments, cash accounts. You maintain control during your lifetime, but nothing can be touched without my approval as co-trustee. Second, we document everything. Every conversation, every attempt to manipulate you, everything. Third, we wait." "Wait for what?" I asked. "For them to make a mistake. And they will. People like Vanessa always overplay their hand." Over the next 2 weeks, we worked fast. Every account was transferred. The house deed was transferred. Everything I owned was now protected. Derek's name was removed from everything except one checking account with $500 in it. I wanted him to notice. I wanted them to panic. On October 28th, Derek called. "Mom, I tried to check on your checking account to make sure your bills were being paid, and the bank said I don't have access anymore." "That's right," I said. "I made some changes." "What changes?" "Mom, I need to be able to help you." "I don't need help, Derek. I need my family back." He hung up. 10 minutes later, Vanessa called. Her voice was ice. "What did you do, Margaret?" "I protected myself." "From what? From your own family? You're being paranoid. This is exactly what we were worried about. You're clearly not thinking straight." I hung up on her. It felt good. That afternoon, Emily showed up alone. My granddaughter stood on my porch with tears in her eyes. "Grandma, Mom and Dad are fighting about you. Mom keeps saying you're sick. She wants Dad to get something called conservatorship." "What does that mean?" My blood ran cold. Conservatorship. That meant going to court, having a judge declare me incompetent, stripping away all my rights. Even with everything in trust, they could freeze my access to my own money, put me in a facility, control my entire life. I pulled Emily inside. "Sweetheart, I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to keep it secret. Can you do that?" She nodded, still crying. "I'm not sick. Your mother is lying because she wants my money. Your father is going along with it because he loves your mother and doesn't want to believe what's happening. I need you to be my eyes and ears. If you hear them planning anything, you tell me immediately. Can you do that?" Emily wiped her tears. "Grandma, I hate Mom sometimes. She's mean to Dad. She's mean to you. She's always on her phone texting someone named M, and she hides it when Dad comes near." "M?" I asked carefully. "Yeah. She doesn't know I saw her phone once. Hundreds of texts to this person. Some of them were like romantic, like boyfriend stuff. Vanessa was having an affair. Of course she was. The final piece clicked into place. She didn't just want my money. She wanted to take everything and leave Derek with nothing. Maybe she'd already planned to divorce him once she got control of my assets through him. I hugged Emily tight. "You're a smart, brave girl. Just like your grandfather. Thank you for telling me." After Emily left, I called Lisa. "They're going for conservatorship, and Vanessa's having an affair." "Perfect," Lisa said. "Now we can destroy them." November 1st was a Friday. Derek showed up at my door at 7 in the morning, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Dark circles under his eyes, wrinkled shirt, defeat written across every line of his face. "Mom, please," he said. "Can we talk? Really talk?" I almost softened. Almost. Then I saw Vanessa sitting in the car in my driveway, watching us like a hawk. She'd sent him as her messenger boy. "Come in," I said. Derek sat at the kitchen table while I made coffee, just like we'd done 1,000 times before. For a moment it felt normal. Like we were just mother and son. No lawyers. No manipulation. No Vanessa orchestrating every move. "Mom, I'm sorry," he started. "For all of it. Vanessa convinced me you were declining. She showed me articles about dementia, early warning signs, how families need to intervene before it's too late. I believed her because I didn't want to think she'd lie about something like that. But she did lie, I said gently. Derek, have you asked yourself why? Why would your wife spend months building a case that I'm incompetent? She's worried about you. She's worried about my bank account, I interrupted. Derek, do you know how much money I have? He shifted uncomfortably. I mean, Dad's business sold for good money. You're comfortable. $2.1 million from the business sale. Another $800,000 in investments. This house is worth $500,000. I have income from dividends and interest. Derek, I'm worth over $3 million. And your wife has been trying to get power of attorney over all of it. The color drained from his face. No, that's not. Mom, we just wanted to help. Derek, 3 weeks ago, Emily told me something. Your wife is having an affair. Someone she texts constantly. Someone named M. Emily saw the messages. Derek stood up so fast his chair fell over. That's ridiculous. Emily's a kid. She probably misunderstood. Did she misunderstand the conservatorship papers Vanessa's been researching? Did she misunderstand your wife's plan to have me declared incompetent and locked away in a facility? Stop it, Derek shouted. This is crazy. You sound paranoid. Maybe Vanessa's right. Maybe you do need help. Get out, I said coldly. And don't come back until you're ready to see the truth. He left, slamming the door. I watched through the window as he got back in the car. Vanessa was talking rapidly, her hands moving in agitation. Derek looked shattered. They drove away. Tom appeared at my back door 10 minutes later. I heard shouting. You okay? He chose her, I said. And for the first time through all of this, I cried. He chose her lies over me. Tom wrapped his arms around me while I sobbed. Paul would know what to do, I whispered. He'd know how to reach Derek. Paul would be proud of you for fighting, Tom said firmly. And he'd be heartbroken about Derek. But he'd tell you the same thing I'm telling you now. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Derek has to hit bottom before he'll see the truth. That weekend I focused on gathering evidence. Lisa had hired a private investigator, a woman named Sarah Chen, who specialized in infidelity cases. By Monday morning, Sarah had plenty. Photos of Vanessa meeting a man at hotels. Credit card statements showing charges Derek never saw. Text message records obtained through legal channels. The man's name was Marcus Webb, a personal trainer at Vanessa's gym. 32 years old, 6 years younger than Vanessa. And according to Sarah's research, he'd been involved with 3 other wealthy married women in the past 5 years. This was his pattern. Find a mark, seduce them, help them access their spouse's money, then disappear. But that wasn't all Sarah found. Vanessa herself had a history. She'd been married before, to a man named Richard Porter in Florida. That marriage had ended when Richard discovered her stealing from his business. She'd left Florida fast, changed her last name back to her maiden name, and moved to our state. Derek had no idea he'd married a woman with a criminal past and a history of financial manipulation. We have everything we need, Lisa told me in her office. But I want to wait for them to make their move. If they file for conservatorship, we ambush them in court with all of this. The judge will throw it out and possibly charge them with elder abuse. I don't want Derek charged with anything, I said quickly. He's a victim here too. Margaret, at some point, being a victim becomes a choice. Derek has chosen to believe his wife over his mother. He's complicit in this. I knew she was right, but he was still my son. Tuesday, November 4th, the day that changed everything. Derek called that morning. Mom, we need to meet. Today. There are papers you need to sign. What papers? I asked, though I knew. Just papers, financial stuff. Can you meet us at the house at 3? I'll be there, I said. I immediately called Lisa and Tom. Lisa said, Don't go alone. Tom, you go with her. I'll be on standby. Margaret, record everything on your phone. This is it. At 2:30, Tom and I drove to Derek's house in Tom's car. The whole way my hands were shaking. Tom reached over and squeezed my hand. You're doing the right thing. Paul would be so proud. Derek and Vanessa's house was a colonial they'd bought 3 years ago, stretching their budget to the limit. The BMW in the driveway was leased. The furniture inside was all financed. They were drowning in debt, trying to maintain an image of success they couldn't afford. My money would solve all their problems. If they could get their hands on it. I rang the doorbell. Derek answered, looking grim. When he saw Tom, his expression hardened. "This is a family matter, Tom." "Tom's family," I said firmly. "He stays." Inside, Vanessa sat at the dining room table. Papers were spread out. Emily and Connor were nowhere to be seen, probably sent to friends' houses. This was planned. "Margaret, sit down," Vanessa said. "No, Mom. Just Margaret." The pretense was gone. I sat. Tom stood behind me. I pulled out my phone and set it on the table, recording app already running. "These are conservatorship papers," Vanessa said coldly. "We're having you declared incompetent. Derek will have full control of your finances, your property, everything. You'll be moved to a memory care facility where you'll get the help you clearly need." "I'm not incompetent," I said calmly. "I have complete cognitive testing from Dr. Morrison showing perfect mental health." "That doesn't matter," Vanessa snapped. "We have documentation of your declining condition, witness statements, a medical opinion from Dr. Stevens confirming early dementia." "I've never seen Dr. Stevens in my life," I said. "Details." Vanessa waved her hand dismissively. "The point is, you're not capable of managing millions of dollars anymore. Derek needs to take over before you lose everything." Derek sat silently, staring at the table, not meeting my eyes. "Derek," I said softly, "look at me." He didn't. "Derek, please, look at your mother and tell me you believe I'm incompetent." Finally, he looked up. His eyes were empty. "You've been acting strange, Mom, forgetting things. Getting confused. Vanessa's right. We need to do this before it gets worse." That's when something broke inside me. The last thread of hope I'd been holding on to snapped. "No," I said. "I won't sign anything, and if you try to file those papers, I'll fight you with every dollar I have." Vanessa smiled. "You don't have any dollars. Derek already has power of attorney over your main account. We got the bank to accept it last week. By tomorrow, everything will be transferred to accounts in Derek's name." "That account had $500 in it," I said quietly. "That's all Derek had access to. Everything else was moved into an irrevocable trust last month. You can't touch it. Neither of you can." Vanessa's face went white, then red. Then she exploded. "You what? You moved everything. You had no right. That's Derek's inheritance. That's our security. You selfish, crazy old woman." "Vanessa," Derek started, but she whirled on him. "Shut up. This is your fault. You said your mother was a soft touch. You said she'd sign anything. You promised me we'd have that money." The room froze. Derek's face crumbled as he finally understood. "You promised you what?" "Nothing." Vanessa backtracked quickly. "I just meant, you promised her my mother's money?" Derek's voice rose. "Van, what the hell is going on?" "Ask her about Marcus," I said quietly. Vanessa's eyes widened. Derek looked between us. "Who's Marcus?" "Her personal trainer," I continued. "The man she's been meeting at hotels 3 times a week. The man she's been texting constantly. The man she's planning to leave you for once she got her hands on my money through you." "You're lying," Vanessa hissed. I pulled out the folder Sarah had prepared. Photos, text records, hotel receipts. I spread them across the table. Derek picked up a photo. Vanessa and Marcus kissing in a parking lot. His hand started shaking. "How long?" he whispered. 8 months, I said. "I'm sorry, Derek." He looked at Vanessa. She was calculating. I could see it in her eyes. Deciding whether to deny or attack. She chose attack. "So what?" she spat. "You're weak, Derek. You're a failure. We're drowning in debt because you can't make enough money. Your mother sits on millions while we struggle. I did what I had to do." "Get out," Derek said quietly. "What?" "Get out," he screamed. "Get out of my house. Get out of my life. Get out." Vanessa stood, grabbed her purse. "Fine. My lawyer will be in touch. I'll take you for everything." She slammed out of the house. The silence after was deafening. Derek sat down heavily, put his head in his hands. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." But I wasn't ready to forgive yet. Because he'd made a choice, and that choice had consequences. "I'm going home," I said. "Don't contact me, Derek. Not until you figure out who you are without her." I walked out. Tom followed. We got in his car and drove away, leaving my son sitting alone in his too expensive house with his broken life in pieces around him. That was Tuesday afternoon at 3:15. I didn't sleep that night. I kept seeing Derek's face, that moment when everything crashed down around him. Part of me wanted to call him, to comfort him like I'd done when he was a child with a skinned knee. But the stronger part, the part Paul had built in me over 33 years of marriage, knew that some lessons have to hurt. "A man's character shows in how he treats people who can't fight back," Paul used to say. "A real man protects the weak. He doesn't exploit them." Derek had failed that test. My own son had been willing to take away my freedom, my autonomy, my life, because his wife convinced him to. Yes, he'd been manipulated. But at 42 years old, he was responsible for his own choices. Wednesday morning, I woke up to find Emily sitting on my front porch at 7 a.m. She was crying. "Grandma, Mom left. She took her stuff and left. Dad's been crying all night. Connor's scared. I don't know what to do." I brought her inside, made hot chocolate, her comfort drink since she was 5 years old. "Emily, your parents need to work this out themselves, but you and Connor are always welcome here. Always." "Did Mom really cheat on Dad?" she asked quietly. I wasn't going to lie to her. "Yes, and she was trying to take money that wasn't hers. I'm sorry you had to see your family fall apart like this." Emily wiped her eyes. "I'm not sorry. Mom's been mean for years. She made Dad sad. She made you sad. Maybe now things can get better." Such wisdom in 15 years. She reminded me so much of Paul. Practical, clear-eyed, able to see through nonsense to the truth underneath. After Emily left to catch her school bus, Tom came over. "Marcus Webb left town yesterday," he reported. "Cleared out his apartment, quit his job at the gym, disappeared." Sarah's theory is that once Vanessa told him the money wasn't happening, he ran. That's his pattern. When a scheme falls through, he vanishes. "So Vanessa lost everything," I said. "Derek, Marcus, the money she thought she'd have." "Good," Tom said firmly. "She deserves worse. Speaking of which, Lisa wants to know if you're pressing charges for attempted exploitation." "No," I said. "She's gone. That's enough." But I underestimated Vanessa's capacity for revenge. That afternoon, I got a call from Adult Protective Services. "Mrs. Thompson? We received a complaint that you're being financially exploited by a neighbor named Tom Bradford. We need to come investigate." My blood boiled. Vanessa's last move, trying to turn my protection into evidence against me. Lisa handled it. Within hours, she'd provided APS with complete documentation of everything. The trust, my cognitive testing, the fraud attempt by Derek and Vanessa, everything. The case was closed immediately with apologies. But it showed me how far Vanessa would go. And it made me more determined to protect not just myself, but Derek from any future schemes she might plan. Thursday morning, Vanessa's lawyer sent divorce papers. She wanted half of everything Derek owned, including half of what she claimed was his expected inheritance from me. Lisa laughed when she read it. Expected inheritance isn't a marital asset, and Derek owns nothing except debt. This is going to be the shortest divorce in history. But Derek called me that afternoon. First time since Tuesday. His voice was broken. "Mom, Vanessa's lawyer says she's going to claim I abused her, that I manipulated you against her, that I isolated her from her friends. None of it's true, but her lawyer says if I fight the divorce, she'll destroy my reputation." "Let her try," I said coldly. "I have evidence of everything she actually did. If she wants to go to war, Lisa will bury her. Mom, I don't want to fight. I just want it over. I'll give her whatever she wants if she just goes away. Derek, she can't touch anything. You don't have anything to give her. Your house is mortgaged to the limit. Your cars are leased. Your retirement account has $8,000 in it. What exactly does she think she's getting? Silence on the line. Then quietly, she thinks you'll give her money to leave me alone. I almost laughed. She's delusional. I wouldn't give that woman a dime if she was on fire and I had a bucket of water. Mom, please. I know I don't deserve your help. I know I failed you. But if there's any chance you could— No, I said firmly. Derek, you need to face this on your own. You need to learn that actions have consequences. Your wife tried to rob me and you helped her. I'm not rewarding that. He hung up. I sat there holding the phone, feeling like the worst mother in the world. But Paul's voice in my head was clear. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone fall. That night, I pulled out old photo albums. Pictures of Derek as a baby, Paul holding him with such pride and love. Derek's first day of school, gap-toothed and excited. His high school graduation, Paul's arm around his shoulders. Their last photo together, taken a month before Paul died. They were fishing at the lake, both laughing at something I'd said behind the camera. What would Paul do now? Would he forgive Derek immediately? Would he stand firm like I was doing? I honestly didn't know. Paul had always been a softie when it came to Derek. But he'd also been the one to teach Derek about integrity, about standing up for what's right even when it's hard. Friday morning, Derek showed up at my door at 9. Not with Vanessa this time. Not with demands or papers to sign. Just Derek, looking 10 years older than he had a week ago. I need to tell you something, he said. And I need you to listen to everything before you say anything. I let him in. We sat in the living room. He looked around at the house he'd grown up in, and I saw tears in his eyes. I remember Dad's last birthday. He started. We were sitting right here. He told me that a man's worth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in how he treats people, especially family. He said you were the strongest woman he'd ever known, and that I was lucky to have you as my mother. Derek's voice broke. I forgot that. I let Vanessa make me forget everything Dad taught me. She was always in my ear. Your mom has so much money, she should help us. She doesn't need it all, she's getting old. At first I defended you. But she was relentless. And I was tired. Tired of struggling, tired of debt, tired of watching friends live better lives. I convinced myself you wouldn't miss it, that you'd want to help. I twisted everything Dad taught me to justify being selfish. He wiped his eyes. Tuesday, when I saw those pictures, when I realized what Vanessa really was, I didn't just lose my wife. I lost my dignity, my honor, everything Dad built in me, and I deserved to lose it. I stayed quiet, letting him finish. I'm not here to ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm not here to ask for money. I'll deal with Vanessa and the divorce myself. I'm here to tell you that you were right to protect yourself from me, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life earning back your trust, even if it takes forever. He stood up to leave, and that's when I finally spoke. Derek, sit down. He sat. I looked at my son, my only child, the boy I'd loved since before he was born, the man who'd broken my heart and needed to find his way back. Your father believed in second chances, I said, but he also believed in consequences. So here's what's going to happen. You get nothing from me right now. No money for the divorce. No help with your debt. You handle Vanessa on your own. You rebuild your life on your own. You show me through actions, not words, that you remember who your father was and what he taught you. Derek nodded, accepting the terms. But, I continued, every Sunday you come here for dinner. You bring Emily and Connor. We rebuild our family slowly, carefully, honestly. And when I see that you've truly changed, when I see that you've become the man your father raised you to be, then we talk about the future. Thank you, he whispered. I won't let you down again. After he left, Tom appeared at my back door as usual. Heard voices. How'd it go? He's starting the long road back, I said. Time will tell if he makes it. And if Vanessa causes more trouble? I smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. Then Lisa destroys her in court. But I don't think we'll hear from Vanessa again. She's lost everything she wanted and burned every bridge. She'll move on to her next victim. That weekend was quiet. I worked in my garden, the roses blooming despite the cool November weather. Paul's yellow rose bush was thriving, covered in buds ready to open. I talked to the flowers like I always did, telling Paul about Derek's visit, about the choice I'd made to let our son earn his way back. I hope I'm doing the right thing, I told the roses. You'd probably forgive him faster, but someone has to teach him consequences. The flowers didn't answer, but in the evening light, with the autumn sun turning everything golden, I felt at peace with my decision. Monday morning brought the next surprise. Monday, November 10th. I was having coffee in my kitchen when my doorbell rang at 8 a.m. Through the window, I saw a woman I didn't recognize. 30s, professional suit, carrying a briefcase. I opened the door cautiously. "Can I help you?" "Mrs. Thompson?" "My name is Jennifer Walsh. I'm an attorney representing Richard Porter." Richard Porter, Vanessa's ex-husband from Florida. This was unexpected. I invited her in. Jennifer was all business. "Mr. Porter read about a divorce filing here involving Vanessa Porter. She's been using her maiden name, Brennan. He saw the news story about the case and contacted me. He has information you and your son might need for the divorce proceedings." She opened her briefcase. Vanessa ran a similar scheme with my client. She convinced him his business partner was stealing from him, created false documents, manipulated accounts, isolated him from friends and family. By the time Richard discovered the truth, Vanessa had emptied their joint accounts and disappeared. We found her trail. She'd done this before, in 3 other states. She's a con artist who targets men with access to money or assets. Jennifer spread out documents. Richard never pursued charges because Vanessa was smart. She always stayed just on the right side of legal, but he's been tracking her, documenting her pattern. And he wants to help your son avoid the same destruction he went through. I called Derek immediately. He arrived within 30 minutes, looking terrified when he saw Jennifer. But as she explained everything, showed him the evidence of Vanessa's past, the other men she'd conned, the pattern of manipulation that had been textbook, I watched something change in his face. Relief, because it wasn't just him. He hadn't been weak or stupid. He'd been targeted by someone who'd perfected this scam over 15 years. "I'm so sorry about your mother," Jennifer told Derek, "that she got caught up in Vanessa's scheme. But you should know, you were the mark, but your mother was always the real target. Vanessa researched your family before she ever met you. She knew about your father's business, the sale, your mother's assets. She planned this from the beginning." Derek looked sick. "She chose me because of my family's money?" "Yes, everything was calculated. The estrangement from her family, they disowned her years ago after she stole from them. The lack of friends at your wedding, she can't maintain real relationships. The way she isolated you from your mother, classic manipulation. Mr. Porter wants to testify in your divorce proceedings if needed. He'll show the judge the pattern. Vanessa will get nothing." After Jennifer left, Derek sat at my kitchen table with his head in his hands. "Mom, I feel like an idiot. You were in love," I said. "Or you thought you were. Vanessa's good at what she does. That's why she's gotten away with it for so long." "Did you know?" he asked. "When I first brought her home, did you know something was wrong?" I thought back to that first meeting 6 years ago. Your father did. He told me there was something off, but we didn't push because you seemed happy. We thought maybe we were being overprotective. I wish we'd trusted that instinct. I wish you had too," Derek said quietly. "Maybe if you told me your concerns back then, you wouldn't have listened," I finished. "Derek, you were 36 years old and in love. If we'd objected, you would have defended her harder. We made the choice to support you and hope we were wrong." He nodded. "What do I do now?" "You let Lisa and Jennifer handle Vanessa. You focus on Emily and Connor. And you figure out who Derek Thompson is when he's not trying to be what someone else wants him to be." That afternoon, Lisa called with news. Vanessa's lawyer withdrew from her case. Apparently, Vanessa hasn't paid him and can't provide any documentation of assets. She's effectively broke and now unrepresented. The divorce will be finalized in 30 days on Derek's terms, which means she gets nothing. He gets full custody of the kids. It was the ending Vanessa deserved, but I felt no satisfaction, just exhaustion. Tom came over that evening with dinner. Lasagna he'd made himself. "Paul's recipe," he said. "I found it in his old recipe box you gave me." We ate together, and Tom told me stories about Paul I'd never heard. Things from college, from their early days of friendship, from before I knew either of them. It reminded me that Paul had a whole life beyond being my husband and Derek's father. He'd been a full person, with friends and dreams and a past. "He'd be proud of you," Tom said. "The way you handled this whole situation. You protected yourself without destroying Derek. You gave him a path back without making it easy. That's exactly what Paul would have done." "I don't feel proud," I admitted. "I feel tired, and old, and sad that my only son could have ever believed I needed to be locked away." "Derek was manipulated by an expert," Tom reminded me. "Don't let Vanessa take away what you and Paul built with your son. Derek's finding his way back. Let him." The next few days were quiet. Derek came over Sunday for dinner as promised, bringing Emily and Connor. We didn't talk about Vanessa or the divorce or any of it. We just ate pot roast and talked about school, about Connor's soccer team, about Emily's college plans. Normal family things. As they were leaving, Derek hugged me. "Thank you, Mom, for everything, for protecting yourself, for not giving up on me completely." "Your father never gave up on anyone," I said. "Neither will I." Wednesday brought another surprise. A letter arrived, addressed to me in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside was a note from Vanessa. "Margaret, you won. You destroyed my marriage and my life. I hope you're happy. But know this, Derek will never forgive you for turning him against his wife. He'll resent you forever. You'll end up alone, and you'll deserve it." I called Lisa immediately. "Is this considered harassment?" "It's one letter," Lisa said. "Unless she contacts you again, we can't do much. But save it. Document everything. If she escalates, we act." But Vanessa didn't contact me again. According to Jennifer Walsh, Vanessa left the state the day after the divorce was finalized. No forwarding address. Just gone, like she'd been with Richard Porter and all the others before him. Derek took the kids to therapy. He started his own therapy too, working through what Jennifer called post-manipulation trauma. It had a name, what Vanessa did. It was abuse. Psychological, emotional, financial abuse. And victims needed help recovering. Emily and Connor came over every afternoon after school. They'd do homework at my kitchen table, just like Derek had done 30 years before. Connor showed me his soccer trophies. Emily talked about applying to colleges. They were healing, finding stability again in their grandmother's house. And slowly, very slowly, Derek came back to life. He sold the too expensive house and moved into a modest rental. He traded the BMW for a used Honda. He paid off what debt he could and negotiated payment plans for the rest. He went back to basics, working hard, being honest, living within his means. Every Sunday, we had dinner. Every Sunday, I saw more of the man Paul had raised, the good man who'd gotten lost for a while but was finding his way back. 3 weeks after Vanessa left, Derek asked if we could visit Paul's grave together. We stood in front of the headstone. Paul Robert Thompson, beloved husband and father. And Derek broke down. "I'm sorry, Dad," he sobbed. "I'm so sorry I forgot everything you taught me. I'm going to do better. I promise." I held my son while he cried, this 42-year-old man who needed his father and had to settle for his mother. And I cried too, for Paul and all the ways we missed him, for the family that had been broken and was slowly mending. December arrived cold and sharp. The first snow fell on a Thursday morning, covering everything in clean white. I stood at my kitchen window watching it fall, remembering other first snows. Paul and I dancing in the snow the year we bought this house. Derek as a toddler, trying to catch snowflakes on his tongue. Good memories, before everything got complicated. My phone rang. Lisa Parker. Margaret, I need to see you today. Something's come up. She arrived an hour later with Sarah Chen, the private investigator. Both women looked serious. We kept digging into Vanessa, Lisa started. Following up on Jennifer Walsh's information, we found something. Sarah pulled out her laptop. Vanessa made a mistake before she left town. She met with someone, a man named Trevor Kane. He's a professional document forger. People hire him to create fake IDs, fake credentials, fake financial records. We have photos of Vanessa meeting him, and we have his records. She paid him $15,000. For what? I asked. For a complete new identity, Lisa said. New driver's license, new social security number, new credit history. Vanessa's planning to run her scheme again somewhere else, under a new name. I felt sick. She'll do this to another family, destroy another man's life. We can stop her, Sarah said. We have evidence of fraud. Using fake documents is a felony. We can turn this over to the FBI. They track professional con artists. But Margaret, if we do this, it means Derek will have to testify. Everything will become public. The whole story, your money, the manipulation, all of it. I thought about Emily and Connor. About them seeing their mother exposed as a criminal in court. About the news coverage, the gossip, the shame. But then, I thought about the next Derek out there. The next family Vanessa would target. The next elderly parent she'd try to rob and institutionalize. We report it, I said firmly. Derek will understand. That evening, I told Derek. He sat at my kitchen table processing the information. Finally, he looked up. If I testify, everyone will know what an idiot I was. Everyone will know she fooled me completely. Everyone will know you were a victim of a professional criminal, I corrected. Derek, this isn't about you. It's about stopping her from doing this to someone else's family. He nodded slowly. Dad would want me to do the right thing. Even if it's hard. Especially because it's hard, I said. The FBI took our statement 3 days later. Agent Martinez was sympathetic but clear. Cases like this take time. We'll investigate, gather evidence, track her movements. When we find her, and we will, we'll arrest her. But prosecution isn't guaranteed. She's smart. She might have covered her tracks. Do what you can, I said. Just knowing someone's looking for her, that she might face consequences. That's something. Christmas approached. Normally by now I'd have decorated the whole house. Paul loved Christmas. Lights everywhere, ridiculous inflatable decorations in the yard, music playing constantly. But this year, I couldn't muster enthusiasm. Too much had happened. The season felt hollow. Derek noticed. He showed up one Saturday with Emily, Connor, and boxes of decorations. Dad would kill us if we let Mom skip Christmas, he told the kids. Let's do this. They decorated while I supervised from my chair, drinking hot chocolate Tom had brought over. Emily strung lights on the tree. Connor arranged Paul's collection of ridiculous nutcrackers. Derek hung stockings over the fireplace. 4 stockings, including Paul's, which Derek had kept all these years. Dad should be here, Derek said quietly, touching Paul's stocking. He should see us putting the family back together. He sees, I said, and he's proud. Tom took a picture of all of us in front of the tree. Looking at it later, I saw something that hadn't been there for years. We looked like a family again. Damaged, yes. Changed, absolutely. But together. Christmas Eve, Derek and the kids stayed over, sleeping in their old rooms. It was tradition. One Vanessa had ended years ago, insisting they spend Christmas Eve at her parents' house. Parents who didn't exist, we knew now. Another lie. Christmas morning, I woke to the smell of coffee and bacon. Derek was in the kitchen cooking Paul's traditional Christmas breakfast. Emily was setting the table. Connor was arranging presents under the tree. It felt like traveling back in time, to when things were simpler. We exchanged gifts. I gave Emily and Connor savings bonds for college. I gave Derek something else. a journal Paul had kept the year Derek was born. Page after page of Paul's handwriting, documenting Derek's first year. His first smile, first tooth, first word. And running through every entry, Paul's overwhelming love and pride. Derek read it and cried. I forgot how much he loved me. He loved the man you were becoming, I said. The man you still can be. That afternoon, Richard Porter and Jennifer Walsh stopped by. They'd driven up from Florida to spend the holiday with Jennifer's family and wanted to wish us well. The FBI contacted me, Richard told Derek. They're building a case against Vanessa using evidence from multiple states. There are 6 other victims we've found so far. 6 other families she destroyed. Your testimony might be the key to putting her away. I'll do whatever it takes, Derek said firmly. After they left, Tom came over for Christmas dinner. Turkey with all the traditional sides. We'd invited him every Christmas since Paul died. He was family, even if not by blood. Paul's looking down on this and grinning like an idiot, Tom said. His boy came back. That's all he ever would have wanted. That night, after everyone left and the house was quiet, I sat in Paul's study with a glass of wine. I'd barely touched this room since he died, keeping everything exactly as he'd left it. His desk, his books, his reading chair. But tonight, I sat in that chair and let myself really feel his absence. I think we did okay, I said out loud to him. Derek's finding his way back. The kids are okay. I protected us. But God, Paul, I miss you. I miss having you here to share this with. I miss your advice, your strength, your terrible jokes. The room stayed quiet. But in that quiet, I felt something. Peace, maybe, or just acceptance. Paul was gone. But what he'd built, in me, in Derek, in our family, remained. And that was enough. 2 days after Christmas, Agent Martinez called. We found her. Vanessa's in Arizona using the name Victoria Brennan. She's already targeted a new victim, a 72-year-old widower whose daughter called the police about a suspicious woman trying to get close to her father. The daughter saw our alert and connected the dots. What happens now? I asked. We arrest her. We charge her with multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and elder financial exploitation. With testimony from you, Derek, Richard Porter, and the other victims, we can put her away for years. For the first time in months, I felt real, genuine satisfaction. Vanessa would face consequences. She wouldn't hurt anyone else. Justice was finally catching up with her. I called Derek with the news. It's over. She's going to prison. Good, he said. Then, Mom, thank you. For protecting yourself, for protecting all of us, for being strong when I wasn't. That's what mothers do, I said simply. New Year's Eve, we had a small party at my house. Derek, Emily, Connor, Tom, Lisa, Sarah, and Jennifer. People who'd helped us survive and rebuild. We toasted at midnight, to new beginnings, to justice, to family. At 12:01, Derek raised his glass again. To Mom, the strongest woman I know, and to Dad, who taught us what really matters. We drank to that. And standing in my warm house full of people who loved me, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The future was uncertain. Derek still had work to do, rebuilding his life and proving he'd learned from his mistakes. Emily and Connor needed time to heal. But we were together. We were honest. We were family. And that, I thought, was exactly what Paul would have wanted. Outside, snow began to fall again, clean and white and full of possibility. Tomorrow was January 1st, a fresh start. Tomorrow I'd begin writing down the whole story, documenting everything that happened. For Emily and Connor when they were older. For anyone else who might need to know that families can survive betrayal, that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is protect yourself, that second chances are possible, but they have to be earned. Tomorrow. But tonight, I stood at my window watching snow fall on my roses, Paul's yellow roses that bloomed against all odds, and I knew we'd be okay. We'd be okay. January arrived bitter cold, bringing a federal investigation that moved faster than expected. Agent Martinez called every few days with updates that made my heart race. Vanessa had been arrested in Arizona trying to con another elderly victim, a 72-year-old widower named Frank Morrison. His daughter had recognized the pattern from news coverage of our case and called police before Vanessa could drain his accounts. Frank had already given her $20,000 before his daughter intervened. "Frank's pressing charges," Martinez told me during one call. "His daughter Sarah wants to testify. We're building an ironclad case, but Derek's testimony is absolutely crucial to establish the pattern across state lines. Without his testimony showing the same tactics used in different locations, Vanessa's lawyers can claim each incident was isolated. Derek didn't hesitate even for a second. "When do you need me? I'll fly back immediately." The deposition was scheduled for late January. Derek spent 2 intense weeks preparing with Jennifer Walsh, going through every single painful detail of his relationship with Vanessa, how they'd met at a charity event, which we now knew she'd researched specifically to target wealthy attendees who might have assets or family money, how she'd gradually isolated him from friends and family with subtle suggestions and carefully manufactured conflicts that seemed legitimate at the time, how she'd planted seeds of doubt about my mental health with comments so small and incremental, he barely noticed them accumulating into a completely false narrative. "She started with such little things," Derek explained during a prep session I attended at Jennifer's office. "Tiny comments about you repeating stories or seeming confused about dates. I didn't pay close attention at first because I was busy with work, with keeping up appearances, with our lifestyle that was always slightly beyond our means. Vanessa handled everything. Our social life, our finances, our public image. I just went along, trusting her completely without question." "When did you realize she was controlling absolutely everything?" Jennifer asked, taking detailed notes. Derek thought carefully, his face pained with the memories. "Looking back now, from the very beginning. But I didn't see it as control at the time. I saw it as her being organized and capable. She convinced me she was making our lives better, smoother, more successful. By the time I understood what was really happening, I was completely dependent on her version of reality. She'd become my filter for understanding the entire world around me. Watching my son dissect his own manipulation was incredibly painful, but absolutely necessary. He needed to understand exactly how it happened, so he'd recognize the warning signs if he ever faced manipulation again from anyone." The day of the deposition, Derek wore one of Paul's old suits. It fit perfectly. They'd been exactly the same size, same build, same shoulders. He caught his reflection in my hallway mirror before we left, and tears filled his eyes immediately. "Dad would be so ashamed of what I did," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Your father would be proud of what you're doing right now," I corrected firmly, gripping his shoulders. "You're making it right, Derek. That's what matters most. That's what he always taught you. It's not about never falling down. It's about getting back up every single time." The deposition lasted 4 absolutely grueling hours. Derek answered every single question with complete honesty, holding nothing back even when the answers made him look weak, foolish, or complicit. When he came home that evening, he looked utterly exhausted, but somehow lighter, like he'd finally put down a crushing weight he'd been carrying. "They have everything they need now," he told me, collapsing into a kitchen chair. "Jennifer says the case is solid as steel. Multiple victims, clear pattern, documented evidence of premeditation. Vanessa's going to prison, Mom. She's really going to pay for what she did to all of us. But nothing is ever truly simple in the legal system." 2 days later, Vanessa's new lawyer, her 4th since the arrest, filed motions claiming she was actually the victim in this situation. That Derek had abused her emotionally and financially. That I'd manipulated both of them with my money and influence. That she'd been forced into desperate actions by our family's cruelty and control. It was absurd, transparent legal strategy, but it was also effective delay tactics specifically designed to create reasonable doubt in potential jurors' minds. Lisa was absolutely furious when she called to tell me. "This is insulting to everyone's intelligence. We have 6 other victims with identical stories. We have extensive documentation of her criminal history across 5 states. No rational jury will believe she's the victim here. Vanessa's counting on never reaching a jury, I said quietly, understanding her strategy. She's hoping we'll get tired, emotionally exhausted, accept a plea deal, let her walk away with time served and probation. That's her endgame. Not a chance in hell, Lisa said grimly, her voice steel. We're taking this all the way to trial. She's going to prison for a very long time. February brought Valentine's Day and unexpected but welcome changes. Derek called on a Tuesday afternoon, his voice tentative. Mom, I've been offered a job in Seattle. Really good architecture firm, excellent salary, complete fresh start away from all the scandal here. Emily wants to stay and finish her senior year with you, but Connor's okay with moving. What do you honestly think? I think you should take it immediately without hesitation, I said firmly. But I'd be leaving you here alone. Derek, I'm perfectly fine. Tom's right next door checking on me constantly. Lisa's just a phone call away. You desperately need to rebuild your life somewhere completely new, somewhere people don't know your story or whisper about the trial when you walk into a room. Take the job. Start over fresh. Visit for holidays. This is exactly what you need to heal. He was quiet for a long moment. I feel like I'm abandoning you all over again. You're living your life forward, I corrected gently. You're moving forward instead of staying stuck in the painful past. That's what I want for you. What your father would want. Go to Seattle, Derek. Be successful. Be happy. That's not abandonment. That's growth and healing. Derek moved to Seattle in early March. Emily stayed with me, and we fell into an surprisingly easy, comfortable rhythm. She'd do homework at the kitchen table after school while I cooked dinner, exactly like Derek had done 30 years before. Connor adjusted well to Seattle, making friends quickly and joining a new competitive soccer team. Kids are remarkably resilient in ways adults tend to forget. March also brought an unexpected letter that made me cry tears of gratitude. It was from Sarah Morrison, Frank's daughter from Arizona. Mrs. Thompson, she wrote in careful handwriting, my father almost lost absolutely everything because of Vanessa. She convinced him to add her name to his bank accounts, to change his will in her favor, to cut off all contact with me because I was supposedly trying to steal his money and put him in a home. She used the exact same tactics she used on your family. Your case gave us the evidence we needed to stop her before it was too late. My father is safe now, and he's getting intensive therapy to recover from the psychological manipulation. Thank you for being brave enough to fight back when it would have been so much easier to just let it go and stay silent. You saved my father's life. I showed Derek the letter during one of our weekly video calls. His eyes filled with tears. This is why we're doing all this, I said softly. Not for revenge or vindication, for protection. So Vanessa can't destroy another innocent family. I understand now, Derek said, his voice thick with emotion. I really, truly understand. April arrived with warm sunshine, cherry blossoms blooming everywhere, and a trial that promised to be absolutely explosive. Derek flew in 3 full days early, and I barely recognized him when he walked off the plane. He looked genuinely healthier than I'd seen him in years. The Seattle job was going remarkably well. He'd made real, genuine friends who knew nothing about his past. He'd cautiously started dating someone named Rebecca, an accountant who'd survived her own difficult divorce, though he was taking it incredibly slow and hadn't introduced her to the kids yet. He was carefully, methodically, thoughtfully rebuilding his entire life piece by piece. How are you feeling about testifying tomorrow? I asked over coffee the morning before jury selection began. Terrified, he admitted honestly, hands wrapped tightly around his mug. Absolutely terrified, if I'm being completely honest. Vanessa's lawyer is going to try everything possible to make me look weak, stupid, complicit in her crimes. I need to own what I did wrong without letting her use me as an excuse for 20 years of systematic fraud against multiple families. Lisa had coached him extremely thoroughly over several sessions. Acknowledge the manipulation completely, but maintain that you're responsible for your own choices at the end of the day. Show genuine, deep remorse without positioning yourself as the primary victim here. The jury needs to see you as someone who is expertly, professionally fooled, but who's taking full responsibility for failing to protect his mother. The trial started on a Monday morning, in a courthouse absolutely packed with press, victims from other states, and people who'd been following the case obsessively online. Vanessa had become genuinely infamous, featured in major articles about financial exploitation, elder abuse, and sophisticated long-term confidence schemes. She sat at the defense table looking absolutely nothing like the polished, put-together woman I remembered from family dinners. Prison had completely stripped away her carefully maintained facade, or maybe the mask had simply finally slipped away entirely after years of perfect performance. The prosecution was methodical, thorough, and absolutely devastating. 6 victims spanning 15 years across 5 different states, each story heartbreakingly, impossibly similar. Richard Porter testified first, his voice breaking repeatedly as he described in painful detail how Vanessa had systematically destroyed his business, his reputation, and very nearly his will to continue living. Frank Morrison's daughter, Sarah, showed the jury extensive text messages where Vanessa had told her father that Sarah was trying to commit him to a nursing home specifically to steal his inheritance, the exact same manipulative tactics she'd attempted to use with Derek and me. Then it was Derek's turn on Wednesday afternoon. I could see him trembling slightly as he took the oath. Vanessa's defense attorney went straight for the throat immediately, aggressive and openly accusatory from his very first question. "Mr. Thompson, you testified extensively that my client manipulated you. But isn't it actually true that you were a willing, active, enthusiastic participant in attempting to defraud your elderly mother of millions of dollars?" Derek didn't flinch or look away even for a second. "I was a willing participant in believing my wife's systematic lies, yes. She manufactured elaborate evidence that my mother was experiencing serious cognitive decline. She created carefully designed situations to make me doubt my mother's competence and judgment. I chose to believe her manipulations instead of trusting the woman who raised me and sacrificed everything for me. That was my complete failure, my betrayal of everything I was taught. But I genuinely, honestly believed I was protecting my mother from herself, not trying to steal from her. I was wrong. Catastrophically wrong. Yet you stood to directly inherit millions upon millions of dollars if your mother was declared legally incompetent and institutionalized permanently. I was already going to inherit those millions eventually anyway," Derek countered, his voice growing steady and clear. "My mother is only 67 years old and in absolutely perfect health. She could very easily live another 20 or even 30 years. If I'd been motivated purely by simple greed, I would have just waited patiently. I acted desperately because I believed, wrongly, stupidly, inexcusably, that my mother was in immediate danger of losing everything she and my father built due to what I thought was diminished mental capacity. How incredibly convenient for you, Mr. Thompson." Derek's voice hardened noticeably with righteous anger. "If you're seriously suggesting I invented this entire elaborate story to cover my tracks, then I challenge you to explain the other 5 completely independent victims my ex-wife systematically targeted who have absolutely no connection whatsoever to me or my family. Explain her extensively documented criminal record in Florida that she deliberately hid from me throughout our entire marriage. Explain the fake identity documents she illegally purchased to start her entire con operation again in Arizona under a new name. This isn't about me being a bad son, though I absolutely was. This is about a calculating professional criminal who spent 2 full decades targeting vulnerable families and destroying them completely for pure financial profit." The defense attorney moved on quickly, completely unable to shake Derek's powerful testimony. I watched from the crowded gallery, feeling immense pride mixed with lingering pain for everything we'd all been through. My son had finally found his backbone again, rediscovered the man his father raised. I testified on Thursday morning. Vanessa's lawyer tried a completely different tactical approach with me, painting me as vindictive and controlling, as a jealous, manipulative mother-in-law who turned her son against his innocent wife out of pure spite or pathological desire for control. I stayed completely, perfectly calm throughout. I protected myself because your client specifically attempted to have me declared legally incompetent and institutionalized against my will so she could access millions of dollars through my son. I have comprehensive medical documentation from multiple independent doctors proving I'm of completely sound mind. I have audio recordings of your client's explicit threats and systematic manipulation. I have extensive evidence of her criminal history that she concealed from my entire family. This isn't vindictiveness or spite or jealousy. This is straightforward self-defense against someone who deliberately tried to destroy my life for money. Mrs. Thompson, isn't it true that you've retained sole, absolute control of millions of dollars that could rightfully be considered your son's fair inheritance? My money is mine, I said firmly and clearly, looking directly at every juror. I earned it alongside my late husband, over 40 years of extremely hard work, building a successful business from absolutely nothing. My son will inherit everything when I die, exactly as we've always carefully planned. But nobody, not my son, not his wife, not anyone on earth, is entitled to that money while I'm alive and competent. And certainly nobody has any right whatsoever to take it through fraud, manipulation, and elder abuse. The lawyer tried for another 30 grueling minutes to shake my testimony or trip me up with trick questions. He failed completely at every attempt. I'd survived much, much worse than hostile questions in a courtroom. Friday brought closing arguments. The prosecution was devastatingly clear, methodical, and completely overwhelming. 6 victims, documented 20-year pattern, professional con artist, calculated systematic fraud designed specifically to destroy entire families. The mountain of evidence was overwhelming and utterly irrefutable. Vanessa's lawyer did his absolute best with an impossible case. He argued passionately that she was a product of difficult circumstances, that she'd made serious mistakes but didn't deserve long years in federal prison, that she was genuinely sorry and had already lost absolutely everything: her marriage, her home, her reputation, her freedom, her future. The jury deliberated for only 4 hours. When they returned to the courtroom, the verdict was unanimous on every single count without exception. Guilty. 23 felony convictions. Vanessa's carefully constructed mask finally, completely crumbled as the judge read each guilty verdict in succession. She genuinely believed until that very moment that she'd somehow talk her way out, find another angle, manipulate someone into giving her an escape route. But there was no escape this time. Justice had finally, definitively caught up with her. The sentencing hearing came 2 weeks later. The judge gave Vanessa the absolute maximum sentence allowed under federal guidelines: 15 full years in federal prison. She'd technically be eligible for parole in 10, but given the extensive nature and number of her crimes, parole seemed highly unlikely. Ms. Brennan, the judge said sternly, looking directly at her, you systematically, calculatedly preyed on vulnerable families and individuals. You manipulated people's deepest fears and emotions purely for personal financial gain. You caused truly immeasurable psychological and financial harm spanning 2 full decades. This sentence reflects the extreme severity of your calculated actions and serves as a clear warning to others who might consider similar criminal schemes. Vanessa was led away in handcuffs, and I felt nothing at all. No satisfaction, no vindication, no sense of victory. Just bone-deep exhaustion and overwhelming relief. It was finally, truly, completely over. May arrived with genuinely warm weather, flowers blooming absolutely everywhere, and Emily's high school graduation. Derek flew in from Seattle with Rebecca, finally introducing her to the extended family for the first time. She was exactly, precisely as Derek had described over our many phone calls: practical, warm, genuinely unpretentious in a way that felt refreshingly authentic after years of Vanessa's calculated performance art. She brought me flowers from her struggling container garden, apologizing profusely and unnecessarily that they weren't as beautiful or perfect as mine. They're absolutely perfect, I told her warmly, genuinely meaning it. Because you grew them yourself with your own hands and real effort. That's what makes them truly matter. Rebecca helped me cook the graduation celebration dinner, while Derek and Tom set up multiple tables in the backyard. Connor ran around energetically with Emily's friends, somehow managing to simultaneously be 12 years old while desperately trying to act 17 and sophisticated. Emily was absolutely radiant in her cap and gown, positively glowing with completely justified pride. She'd been accepted to 3 excellent universities with full academic scholarships, and her powerful college essay about surviving and learning from devastating family crisis had deeply impressed every single admissions committee that read it. "Grandma, I wrote my main essay entirely about you," Emily told me privately, her eyes shining with emotion. "About how you taught me that women can be strong and smart and protect themselves and their families. About how you showed me that loving someone doesn't mean accepting abuse or manipulation. Is that really okay?" My eyes filled instantly with tears. "It's more than okay, sweetheart. It's absolutely wonderful, and I'm so proud." Tom made an emotional toast at dinner that had absolutely everyone crying happy tears. To Emily, who's brilliant and brave exactly like her remarkable grandmother. To Derek, who lost his way for a while but found it again through genuine courage and honesty. To Margaret, who never gave up on her family even when giving up would have been so much easier and safer. And to Paul, who built the foundation of love and integrity that absolutely everything stands on. We all drank to that powerful toast. Looking around my backyard at my family, Derek and Rebecca looking at each other with genuine affection and respect. Emily and Connor laughing together. Tom, who'd become family through decades of unwavering loyalty. I felt genuinely content for the first time in over a year. We'd survived something terrible. We'd rebuilt ourselves carefully. We were whole again, maybe even stronger for having been broken and repaired. After graduation, Derek returned to Seattle but called faithfully every single Sunday without fail. Connor enthusiastically told me about competitive soccer tournaments and his interesting new friends. Emily started seriously preparing for college in the fall. She'd chosen a university about 3 hours away, close enough to visit regularly, but far enough to establish real independence. Rebecca started sending me regular pictures of her garden, along with detailed questions about techniques and plant care. Life felt beautifully, wonderfully, gloriously normal again. June brought my 68th birthday, and Derek surprised me completely by flying in the entire extended family. Rebecca, both kids, and even Rebecca's teenage daughter from her first marriage. A genuinely sweet girl named Maya. We had a wonderful party in my backyard. The same backyard where Paul and I had celebrated 40 birthdays together over 3 decades of marriage. "Mom, we have something really special for you," Derek said after we'd finished birthday cake. He handed me a large envelope with visibly shaking hands. Inside was an official deed to a community garden plot downtown, formally registered in both Paul's and my name. "We all thought you might want to grow more than just roses," Derek explained, his voice thick with obvious emotion. "A place where you could garden and meet new people and create new memories while still honoring Dad and everything you built together." I cried. Happy tears this time, the absolute best kind. It was perfect because my son truly, deeply understood me now. We'd come so impossibly far from that terrible November day when he'd screamed about nursing homes and institutions. The next morning, Derek asked if we could visit Paul's grave together. We hadn't been there since Christmas. The grass was vibrant green now, colorful flowers blooming all around the peaceful cemetery. We stood together in front of Paul's headstone in comfortable, companionable silence for several long minutes. "I need to tell you something really important," Derek finally said. "Rebecca and I are getting married. Small ceremony in September, just close family and friends. And before you even ask, yes, I'm completely sure. She's nothing at all like Vanessa. She's real and honest and genuine, and she makes me want to be a genuinely better man every single day. Your father would absolutely love her," I said with complete certainty. "And I'm so incredibly happy for you, Derek. Truly, deeply happy. Will you be my best man? Or best woman? Best person?" he asked, laughing through tears. "I don't even know what the proper term is anymore. But I want you standing right beside me during the ceremony, because you're the primary reason I'm even here and alive and healthy enough to try again." "I would be deeply, deeply honored," I said, crying again myself. Derek knelt carefully in the grass, gently touching his father's headstone with one hand. "Dad, I know you probably can't hear me, But if somehow you can, I'm so incredibly sorry. For everything. For forgetting what you taught me. For almost destroying our family. For being weak when I desperately needed to be strong. His voice broke completely. I'm trying so hard to do better now. I'm trying every single day to be the kind of man you raised me to be. I knelt beside him in the grass, putting my arm around his shoulders. Derek, your father is proud of you. I know it in my bones, because I'm proud of you. You made terrible mistakes, but you owned every single one of them. You changed fundamentally. That's all anyone can possibly ask. We stayed there for a long time, mother and son both kneeling in front of Paul's grave, holding each other and healing together. July passed blessedly quiet and peaceful. I started working regularly at the community garden plot, growing tomatoes and various herbs and vegetables while making genuine friends with other gardeners. One woman named Carol had also recently lost her husband to cancer. We bonded deeply over shared grief and dirt, and the strange, unexpected joy of watching living things grow. August brought wedding planning excitement. Rebecca and Derek wanted the actual ceremony in Seattle, but they asked if we'd be willing to host an engagement party in my backyard. I agreed immediately and enthusiastically, genuinely delighted. It gave me a worthwhile project, something positive to focus my energy on. The engagement party was absolutely perfect. 30 wonderful people filled my backyard. I watched Derek with Rebecca throughout the evening, carefully observing the way he looked at her. It was completely different than with Vanessa. Calmer, more grounded, more genuine. He looked at Rebecca like she was a true partner and equal. He's really, truly happy, Tom observed quietly. Genuinely happy in a way I haven't seen since before Vanessa. Paul would be so relieved. September arrived with Derek's wedding rapidly approaching, and a completely unexpected, deeply disturbing phone call from Agent Martinez. Margaret, we have a significant problem we need to discuss. Vanessa's filed an appeal through her new public defender. They found a procedural error in how some evidence was initially collected. It's purely a technical legal technicality, but it could potentially get her conviction overturned or lead to a complete retrial. My blood ran absolutely cold. What exactly does that mean for us and our family? It means there's a genuine possibility of having to go through absolutely everything again. Another long trial, more painful testimony, reliving all the trauma repeatedly. Or the prosecution might offer her a plea deal for significantly reduced time, just to avoid the uncertainty and massive expense of retrial. I wanted you to know immediately before it hits the news. I'm genuinely sorry. I immediately called Lisa, my hands shaking badly. She was already fully aware of the developing situation. It's a genuine long shot. She tried hard to reassure me. The evidence against her is absolutely overwhelming, even without the contested items. But yes, I completely understand this is incredibly frustrating and frightening after everything you've been through. I made a deliberate, conscious decision not to tell Derek initially. His wedding was only 2 weeks away. He was happy and healing and building a beautiful new life. I absolutely refused to ruin that with worry about Vanessa's endless legal maneuvers and manipulations. But Vanessa somehow knew about the wedding plans. She sent a letter from prison, addressed directly to Derek's Seattle home. Rebecca intercepted it and immediately called me, her voice shaking with anger and concern. Margaret, Vanessa wrote to Derek. A long letter. Should I give it to him or not? What does it say? I asked carefully, dreading the answer. She's apologizing profusely, claiming she still loves him deeply, begging him to visit her in prison, saying she made terrible mistakes but insisting she can change and deserves another chance. It's pure manipulation, right? Even from prison, even facing 15 years, she's still trying to manipulate and control him. Absolutely do not give that letter to Derek, I said firmly and decisively. He doesn't need that toxic poison right before his wedding. Forward it directly to Lisa immediately. She'll document it as part of the ongoing pattern of continued manipulation. But the letter seriously rattled me anyway. Vanessa was relentlessly still trying, still scheming, still attempting to maintain control. Even with 15 years of federal prison ahead of her, she fundamentally couldn't stop playing her manipulative games. Tom found me in the garden that afternoon, aggressively pulling weeds with barely controlled fury. "What's wrong? Talk to me." I told him everything. The appeal, the letter, my deep fear that Vanessa would somehow find a way to worm back into our carefully rebuilt lives and destroy everything again. "She won't," Tom said with absolute certainty. "Margaret, you've built a fortress of protection around this family. Legal protections, extensive documentation, multiple witnesses, everything carefully recorded. Vanessa has literally nothing left. She's desperately grasping at straws from a prison cell. Don't let her steal your hard-won peace." He was right, logically. But peace was substantially harder to maintain when the threat still existed somewhere in the background. Derek's wedding was on September 23rd in Seattle. It was a small, intimate ceremony in a beautiful garden venue with only 40 carefully selected guests. I stood beside Derek as his best person, wearing a suit Paul would have wholeheartedly approved of. Rebecca looked absolutely beautiful in a simple cream-colored dress that suited her perfectly. Connor took his ring-bearer responsibilities very seriously, practicing his walk repeatedly. Emily cried genuine happy tears during the heartfelt vows. When the officiant asked if anyone objected to the union, I actually held my breath for a long moment. Completely ridiculous, since Vanessa was locked in a federal prison 3 states away. But I'd been psychologically conditioned to expect disaster at every turn. No one objected. Derek and Rebecca were married. And watching my son kiss his new wife with such obvious joy and love, I saw Paul reflected in him. The good parts, the strong parts, the honorable man Paul had worked so hard to raise. At the reception, Derek asked me to dance. We swayed together to Frank Sinatra, Paul's absolute favorite artist. And Derek said quietly, his voice thick with emotion, "Thank you for never completely giving up on me, even when I'd given up on myself. Thank you for finding your way back to who you really are," I replied softly. 2 days after the wedding, Agent Martinez called again with news. The appeal was completely denied. The judge ruled definitively that the procedural error didn't materially affect the validity of the overwhelming evidence. Vanessa's conviction stands firm. 15 years with no possibility of further appeals. I actually sat down hard, relief making me physically dizzy. It's really, truly over this time? It's really over. No more legal tricks, no more delays. She's done, Margaret. October brought unexpectedly cooler weather and surprising news. Lisa called asking if I'd be willing to speak at a large conference about elder financial exploitation. "You've genuinely become something of a symbol," she explained carefully. "A woman who fought back courageously and won decisively. Other families desperately need to hear your story." I was genuinely hesitant. Public speaking had never been my strength. But Tom strongly encouraged me. "Paul would absolutely want you to help others facing similar situations." So I agreed. The conference was in November with nearly 100 people attending. I told our complete story honestly, holding absolutely nothing back. After my speech, a woman approached me crying hard. "My daughter is currently trying to have me declared incompetent. I genuinely thought I was completely alone in this nightmare. Thank you so much for showing me I'm not." I gave her Lisa's business card. "Call her immediately. Protect yourself properly. You absolutely don't have to face this alone." November 4th arrived. Exactly 1 full year since Derek had screamed at me about nursing homes. He called unexpectedly. "Mom, I'm flying in today. Right now, actually. I desperately need to see you. It's genuinely important." He arrived at 6 p.m. completely alone. No Rebecca, no kids. Just Derek, carrying a small wooden box and looking incredibly nervous. We sat together in the living room. The exact same room where everything had catastrophically fallen apart exactly 1 year before. 1 year ago today, I was literally the worst son imaginable. Derek began, his voice shaking badly. "I believed horrific lies about you. I tried to take away your freedom and autonomy. I chose my manipulative wife over my own mother who'd sacrificed everything for me." Derek stood up slowly. Then he knelt down on the floor directly in front of me. Actually knelt, like an ancient knight before a queen. "Mom, I'm asking for your complete forgiveness. Not because I remotely deserve it, I absolutely don't. But because I desperately need you to know how sorry I am. I'm begging you right now, just for you to truly know that I love you and I'm sorry. And I'll spend every single day of the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of being Paul Thompson's son. I was crying. He was crying. Derek, please stand up, I said gently. Not until you forgive me. I genuinely need to hear you say it. I slid off the couch and knelt beside him. Mother and son, both on our knees. I forgave you many months ago, I said clearly. The very moment you started genuinely trying. Derek, you're already forgiven. You're already my beloved son. Absolutely nothing will ever change that. He collapsed completely into my arms, sobbing. I held him tightly and felt something finally release. We'd recovered. We were whole. Derek stayed for 3 full days. We didn't talk about Vanessa or the trial or any of the painful past. We just spent precious time together, cooking Paul's favorite recipes while sharing memories, working side by side in the garden, looking through old photo albums and laughing at forgotten moments. Slowly, carefully, honestly rebuilding the relationship that had been so badly damaged. The night before he had to leave, we sat together on the back porch watching stars appear in the darkening sky. Mom, I need to show you something really important. He opened the small wooden box. Inside was a thick envelope, yellowed slightly with age. After Dad died, I found this hidden in his desk drawer. He'd written it years ago, meant specifically for me to read if I ever lost my way and needed guidance. I think somehow he knew that I might need it someday. I read it 6 months ago, right after the trial ended. And it's the primary reason I knew I absolutely had to come here, kneel down, and ask for your forgiveness properly. The letter was in Paul's distinctive handwriting. Derek, if you're reading this, something went terribly wrong. You made choices that hurt people you love, especially your mother. Son, I know you better than anyone. I raised you from birth. You're fundamentally good at your core, but you're also completely human. You can be manipulated, influenced, and led astray. Here's what I desperately need you to know. Your mother is the strongest, most resilient person I ever met in my entire life. She survived childhood poverty, built a thriving business with me from absolutely nothing, and raised you to be a good man. If you've done something to hurt her, if you've betrayed her trust in any way, don't waste precious time drowning in guilt. Fix it immediately. Go to her. Kneel if you have to. Beg forgiveness. Prove through consistent actions over time that you remember everything I taught you about honor and integrity. Honor your mother, Derek. Not because society says you should, because she genuinely deserves it. And Derek, forgive yourself too. Everyone makes mistakes, even terrible ones. What truly matters is how you rebuild after you break something precious. I believe in you completely. Your mother believes in you. Now you need to believe in yourself. Love always, Dad. I read it 3 times, tears streaming down my face. He always knew exactly the right thing to say. He knew me, Derek said softly. The good parts and the bad parts. And he loved me anyway, just like you do. Before Derek left the next morning, he gave me one final gift. A beautiful photo book he'd carefully made himself. Pictures spanning my entire life. My wedding to Paul, Derek as a baby, family vacations, Christmas mornings, graduations, and new photos from this past year. Derek's wedding, Emily's graduation, the family healing. The very last page had a handwritten note. Mom, thank you for being stronger than I was brave. Thank you for protecting our family even when I was actively trying to destroy it. Thank you for second chances and unconditional love. I love you more than words can express. Derek. December arrived with Christmas decorating and the most unexpected, wonderful news. Rebecca was pregnant, due in July. Derek called me crying with pure joy. Mom, you're going to be a grandmother again. A completely fresh start. You already got it right, I told him with absolute certainty. With Emily and Connor. You're an excellent father. This baby is incredibly lucky. Christmas Eve, the whole extended family gathered at my house. Derek and Rebecca, Emily, Connor, Tom, Lisa. We were loud and messy and full of life. Standing in my kitchen watching everyone talk and laugh together, I felt Paul's presence strongly, not sad or ghostly, just there. Approving. Proud. Miss him? Tom asked quietly. Every single day, I said honestly. But I'm so grateful for what we had. Look at them, Tom. We survived. That night, I wrote in my journal. 1 year ago, my son screamed I was going to a nursing home. Today, he's having another baby and building a life filled with honor. Families can survive anything if they choose to fight for each other. To anyone facing similar battles, protect yourself. Trust your instincts. You know your own mind. People can change. Second chances are possible, but only if earned through genuine remorse. Derek earned his. Vanessa sits in prison for 15 years. That's justice. I'm 68. I have my money, my son, my grandchildren, my friends, and peace. This is what winning looks like. Survival, growth, and love that endured the worst. Paul, we did okay. Our boy came back. I kept my promise. Outside, snow fell gently. Tomorrow was Christmas. Tomorrow was full of life and love and second chances we'd fought for and earned. I went to bed at peace. The war was over. We'd won through strength, truth, and love that refused to surrender. And somewhere, Paul was smiling, proud of his family, proud of his son, proud of me. We'd done it. Together. Always together.